Happy New Year. It's 2022. It's all about new blessings, new guidance, new everything. New year, new me, all of that good stuff. And it's also about staying consistent, which I've talked about a lot, but I'm serious. Also, happy Black History Month. Take it upon yourselves this month and every month throughout the year to educate yourself on not only Black struggle but Black people's contribution to the world. That sounded so good. But yeah, what better time to come back than during Black History Month, the start of a new year, pumped, ready to go. Before I begin, hi, I'm Charlotte, for those of you who don't know me. For those of you who do, welcome back. But yeah, basically I'm going to be talking about the African Cup of Nations for 2022. Now, 10 to 12 years ago, I was not familiar with Afcon, and that's because it wasn't widely promoted in my region. And I think that has to do with media and how the media deems what's important and what isn't. But because of social media and having a lot of mutuals across the globe, you know, people talk about it and it resurfaces and you're like, wow, and you take an interest. So thanks to social media about that. Okay, so coming into AFCON, there were a lot of comments going around from various different coaches, teams, and organizations. And the comments came off as if AFCON was not important and it meant nothing, which invalidates the entire continent of Africa, because every other continental international trophy is deemed important. It's deemed as a mark for footballers to achieve with their country, but not Afcon. It was kind of weird with those comments. We also heard about the timing of the competition due to it being that a lot of footballers would be taken away from their clubs during the January to February period. I don't think it's a big deal with that, because if you're looking at it from the outside, you're just going to get angry that, oh my God, my favorite footballer is leaving. You're not thinking about why it is held that time of the year due to climate and other cultural reasons. For it's been happening for years. It's not the first time that this is a thing. So why is it a big deal? No. Also, at one point I saw a person saying it should have been cancelled. COVID is rampant and we're a global pandemic. We know that. But that's a dead art. Like, come on, let's be serious for a second. A lot of other international competitions were able to go through, have attendees. Even club football have thousands of people in attendance. So that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, all in all, it had a good coverage. Not great. Wish it would be better. Wish more news circulated around it. Wish more attention was given to it. But, whatever. So the competition started off very slow. We saw a lot of 0-0 draws. We saw 1-0 victory, like by the skin of each team's teeth. They got through that, and I wouldn't say it was boring, but it takes some time to warm up to competition standard. Also, the refereeing throughout this entire competition was, I don't want to say the wrong word, but it was funny at times, because we had referees calling off the match before the 90th minute. We have evident fouls and that wasn't called, and all these other controversies. What I took bad is how persons who are not familiar with the competition, who don't have the knowledge about the competition, come in and they have all these complaints list and they have all these reactions. And we all watch the top 5 leagues in Europe and we all scream at how horrible their refereeing decisions are. And we don't make it a big deal. We don't make it this big thing. But I saw a lot of persons doing that for Afcon and I was like, okay. Not that we can't call out refereeing decisions, but let's not put them on a pedestal that they have to meet this requirement. It's just unrealistic. The group stage, talking about shockers, Ghana being eliminated so early. The Ghana Black Stars has always had high hopes for their football team, and I think the country wanted to see the rebuild towards becoming one of the best in Africa. And as an outsider, you think that yeah, they have talent. That's not a problem. That's not an issue. But in a competition where you go in, you change your head coach before the competition, then he comes in and the idea of what he's trying to achieve is not clear, and you just knew that they weren't going to go far. No disrespect to the Black Stars, but they were just not prepared for this. And I think now that they probably have an idea of where they want to go for the next Afcon in 2023, they can do a proper rebuild and not get rid of your coach before the tournament. Also, previous title holders Algeria, that was a big shock, but not to me, because we know of the winner's curse in international football. It's not club football where the team has been together 24/7 for the entire year and they can gel and create that chemistry to go on and win another title. This is a national team where they see each other for 2 to 3 weeks per month for the year or so when you do the maths, and it's not a lot of time to get ideas flowing. And so their unbeaten run came to an end. You can attribute that to COVID. A lot of their players and staff had the virus, players not being released on time to the national team to train. So a lot of things surrounded them. And let's just be honest, it's not the same Algerian team 2-3 years ago. It's not the same Algerian team that had that underdog story, that had that, fresh mindset and fresh views. It's a different, and things change. It is disappointing to see them leave that early, because I thought that they would at least challenge to go to the semifinals and gracefully bow, but we say goodbye to them in the group stages. Round of 16 now, biggest shock ever, Nigeria. Now Nigeria is one of the most talented teams in Africa. When you think of African football, you think of Nigeria. Hence they're called the Giants of Africa, the Kings. And they had the same issue as Ghana, that get rid of the coach, I think, prior to the competition. In World Cup qualifiers, you could see where the same old style of play still being repeated, even though it's not giving the results wanted. And I think that's a problem as well. So it all in all went out with a disappointed tournament for them, because I think you look at Nigeria and you're like, yeah man, they have a lot of Afcon titles sitting on. They don't. And that's disappointed for all the talent. But talent gets you just so far in this competition. It's about organization. And many Nigerians have voiced their concerns about the federation, about the team, about the structure. And they also have to do a rebuild if they're going to become serious in challenging for Afcon titles and challenging for World Cup spots, and being more, attentive to the football. But yeah, it was very disappointing from them. I thought a lot of people had them as favorites before anything even begun. Like, a lot of people saw that Nigeria was going to win. Nigerians were anticipated. And to see them to go out so early was a shocker. Quarterfinals wrapping in, and we're now seeing the excitement of African football. We're enjoying it. Burkina, they came so far, and this is as far as they would go, and they should be proud of that, because they have overcome some big teams and they have put in the work to be there. And I think they can look back on this and see that, it was not a bad tournament. It was a good step towards tomorrow. Third place went to Cameroon, who is the host nation, of course. Now, throughout the entire competitions, people were saying if Cameroon had the host nation favoritism going for them, which they would, because you have your home crowd, the anticipation, the entire world is watching to see what you bring. But the history shows host nations barely win in their country, So it would take a lot for them to pull that off. It's not bad that they came third. It's good. The people can be proud of that. I think it was a beautiful country to be held in. And they can walk away looking at this, that we did what we could do, as far as we could. And this is about a lot of the teams. They, like, a lot of them exceeded the expectations, a lot of them went below the belt. And those who came as far as they could just did that. So yeah, they had a great tournament. Third place is not bad. Moving right along to the finalist, we have Senegal versus Egypt. Now the media tried to play this as Salah versus Mane, which I get it because they're the big names on the team sheets, but it's Senegal versus Egypt. And touching on Egypt, I did not see them reaching this far, to be honest. I thought they'd leave at the group stages. Like, come on. But making it this far is due to their playing out the long game and being patient, because they've been through 3 penalty shootouts leading up to this moment. And why is that? Because their game plan is to defend, sit in the box, defend all the crosses and all the plays coming in, and then to break on the counter with Mo Salah. That was sometimes 5 out of 10 completed. Other times it was wasted effort because there's so much he can do and there's so much that they were going to be able to do, but they sat it out. They draw teams out of the comfort zones, had them playing 120 minutes. By time tired legs, they knew they were going to do well in the penalty shootout, which their goalkeeper stepped up immensely for. Now, into the final, same thing they did. Tried to draw Senegal out, tried to get them tired, tried to hit them on the counter. That didn't work. But what I was curious about is, after playing so many minutes, would they be able to keep it up? And they were absolutely amazing. I was like, aren't they not tired? They kept themselves into composure. And at one point, I thought for a second, like, a counter attack is gonna happen, and Egypt is gonna walk away with it, and I'm going to cry. Moving on to the other finalists, and the winner, of course, Senegal. Now, if you guys follow me on Twitter, which I think if you want to, you should. I said that Senegal would win Afcon. Why? They're the best team of the tournament. They don't have the perfect start. They don't have the perfect games always, but they get the job done, and they're organized, and they have a good team, a great goalkeeper, and Edouard Mendy, greatest goalkeeper currently. Was he the best of the tournament? That can be debated for another day because, as I said, Egypt's goalkeeper was amazing. The midfield is like a workhorse midfield, so they were okay with that. Up front, they had Sarr, Mane, and I don't know how to pronounce his sorry, but they were a pretty good team, and that team was able to get across the line. And I think for Mane himself, this was a redemption arc, because when I watched his documentary, and you saw a lot of Senegalese people were not able to forgive him for that missed penalty. They saw it as him not doing enough and not giving enough, and that was pretty harsh to hear, right? If you're a player and you give all to your national country, and they think that you were not interested to win, so he had something to prove. And so after like the early kickoff, and I saw the penalty awarded, I'm like, yes, this is all written in the stars. This is how it's gonna go out. He missed, and I'm screaming, I'm crying. I just can't hold myself together, and I'm like, if you miss these chances in a big final, you may lose. They had, and talking about chances, they had so many opportunities they could have won this game 3-0, walked away with a great ending story, but they just couldn't get those end finished products because the long crosses were coming in, the midfield, they were gliding through, they were doing a number, but they just couldn't finish it. And so it went to penalties, and which they won. Well-deserved win, of course. It's their first Afcon title, the first of many, because this team is going to go on to do things, trust me. And the reception from the people in their hometown is just amazing, how outpouring. And this brings me back to my first point. It deserves the respect. It's not just a little competition. It's not just a small thing you can brush to the side. It means something to these people. And speaking of means something, I have to mention the coach, Aliou Cisse. I'm mispronouncing these names, which is awful, but bear with me. He has been the Senegal national team's captain for so many years. They've been to a World Cup as a player. Then he comes again, and they qualify to the World Cup as a manager. and then they go to an Afcon final and they lose. So they've been through all these things. He's been the coach for years, been the manager. He knows the people, knows the tradition, and he wants to win. And now to finally get it across that line, he is an absolute hero. And I think it's a great legacy for him to live. But yeah, all in all, it was a pretty good tournament. It was very competitive. It was very entertaining. You know, we got our laughs, we got our giggles, but we also got to see a lot of young talents emerging, a lot of the so-called world-class players being humble, because if one thing I've learned about Afcon, it doesn't matter what your name is, you're up for a challenge. As I mentioned, young talents, I'd love to see a lot of younger players who are coming up who don't stand a chance in the European teams to pledge for the African teams. You know, it won't do you harm, it do you more good. It do you more to expand your footballing knowledge, to get to know your countries, to get to be a part of that pride and you know, just to be a part of something bigger. Not that the European teams don't do that, but instead of being a bench player for all the international career or not being selected, go to these countries and get that love and get that support from the people. But yeah, guys, love talking about this. Won't go ghosting again. And I hope, thank you guys so much, first of all, for watching the videos. I see a lot of persons, again, follow me on Twitter, keep telling me that they watch my channel. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I'll see you in the next one.